Hello, and welcome back to the Sunday afternoon drawing group with me, Jason Leeser. And welcome to Guy Aitchison's Reinventing the Tattoo Community, where tattooers, apprentices, collectors, and the curious are encouraged to join in to these live streams, real-world events, to share, to inspire, and ultimately create better art and tattoos together. We beam out nearly every day, and with your help have evolved into a quality network of amazing live and on-demand tattoo and art shows that have all been receiving rave reviews. You're currently watching the Sunday afternoon drawing group with me, Jason Leeser, which is every Sunday at 1 p.m. Artists, feel free to zoom in by clicking on the link in the events area in the Reinventing the Tattoo community or through the app. You might be beaming in from YouTube or Facebook. Maybe you're listening to the podcast, but you can always get the latest event schedule and notifications at the official Reinventing the Tattoo community. The Reinventing the Tattoo community can be found at both app stores, the Apple App Store and Google Play Store, or you can access it directly from community.reinventingthetattoo.com. All Reinventing the Tattoo Network shows, art jams, drawing groups, interviews, panels, webinars. Seriously, all of it can be enjoyed on demand and found in the library, as well as the YouTube and podcast channels. There are countless tattoo and art rabbit holes for you to dive into, perfect for the front room of your studio or to entertain tattoo clients. In fact, we're actually beaming out 4 channels 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You can even enter to win a Reinventing the Tattoo goodie bag at reinventing247.com. Some of those goodie bag items are going to include Cheyenne cartridges, maybe some raw pigment samples. I think one time we had some t-shirts. It's pretty awesome. Let me just do this. There we go. We have some weekly staple shows that we always beam out, this being one of them. Sunday afternoons at 1 o'clock Eastern time, Eastern Standard or Daylight. I think we're on Daylight. Maybe we're on Daylight. I think so. Anyway, so this is one of our weekly staple shows that we always beam out. And it doesn't matter if I'm on the road. It doesn't matter if I'm at a tattoo convention. I always try to make it a point to beam out this episode every week. We also have the 9 p.m. Tattoo Weekly show with Jake Meeks and Lauren Gregory. Oh, hey, Gabe.
Hey, how goes it?
It goes well.
I just clicked all the buttons.
Yay.
What's up?
All right, let me finish getting through this intro.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Cheers.
Cheers. All right, so Monday mornings at 9 a.m., we also have another drawing group that is usually hosted by a couple of different people. Feel free to join that one as well. 9 p.m. every Monday evening, we have the subscribers exclusive drawing group with Guy Aitchison himself, which is always interesting and always enlightening. Tuesdays at 10 a.m., we have another live drawing group with Ricardo Sertivant, who usually goes through and starts to dive into some of his little tips and tricks that he uses to really create art at an incredible level. Wednesday afternoons at noon, we have the Tattoo Now show with Gabe Ripley, where we dive into some other aspects of the tattoo industry and the tattoo business as a whole. Thursdays at 12 noon, we have the Tattoo Collecting podcast, which is always interesting. Collectors from all over will beam in and share some of the stories about how they've developed their collection of tattoos. Thursdays, we have the subscribers exclusive fundamentals course with Kyer, where you get to go back through and revisit all of those fundamental drawing techniques and tricks that you originally learned when you first started drawing. Things like shading a sphere, shading a cylinder, drawing the head using the Loomis method, using or drawing filigree and acanthus sleeves. All of the standardized things that we all start to pick up when we first start drawing that we really should revisit every now and then. We've got a number of live real world events coming up in the next year or so. Starting in October 3rd through 6th, we have the Paradise BYOB, bring your own brush or berries or booze or, you know, whatever you feel like bringing that begins with a B, bring it. We'll be live doing some live webcast shows as well as hosting some in-person seminars and lectures. We have decided to make it virtual and in person for any of you that might still want to stay home to play it safe, which is totally fine. We also have the Brussels Tattoo Convention coming up November 12th through 14th with Nick Baxter and Ivana and Gabe, all of which have already agreed to do some seminars. We'll have some live art jams, some subscriber exclusives. We'll have some general meetups and some general interviews. It's going to be an absolutely jam-packed week. February 5th through 6th, Reinventing the Tattoo will be live from the Red Tree Gallery and True Tube's headquarters in Columbus, Ohio. We're going to have some art jams, some seminars. There's going to be a lot more information on that on the way, so please stay tuned. We have the Hell City Columbus show coming up May 20th through 22nd, 2022. That's always one of the premier tattoo conventions for artists to attend in the US. If you're in the US, you're definitely going to want to check that out. July 8th through 10th, 2022, we have the Rock River Tattoo Art Expo with a whole bunch of different Reinventing the Tattoo artists, an amazing venue, and it's really easy to get to from just about anywhere in the world. July 29th through 31st, we have the Rubber City Tattoo Invitational in Akron, Ohio, hosted by Tony Urbanek. That one's always a great convention to stop by, especially if you're into coiled tattoo machines and you're really trying to know those. Tony puts on a great show, and he usually has a couple of other really great builders there as well. October 20th through 23rd of next year. Mark your calendars now. We are back in full swing with the Paradise Tattoo Gathering. Please mark your calendars. It's going to be absolutely awesome. I would like to go through and just take a quick minute to thank some of our sponsors. World Tattoo Events, which is the go-to place. Let's see. It is the go-to place for tattoo conventions and event listings in the world. It doesn't just cover the US. It doesn't just cover, North America. This is literally tattoo conventions around the world that it will cover. And it's kept up to date live all the time. If you plan on working a show, maybe you want to take a vacation and you want to go and work at a show in another country. That's where you would go to do it. Okay. So worldtattooevents.com. Definitely got to check that out. Inkjet stencils. If you're trying to go through and take your stencils to the next level, you need to look at inkjet stencils. The ability to print out a photorealistic image and stencil that onto your client is just going to take you up to a whole new level. Raw Pigments. Rawpigments.co. The next generation of tattoo pigment, personal opinion there. It is tapping straight into the source. They're going straight to the powdered pigment distributors, and they have created a 100% acrylic-free and additive-free tattoo pigment. This is organic. It's a lot more like the old school powder-based pigments that everyone always loved. You definitely have to check out rawpigments.co. And who's next? Whoops. I hit the wrong button. Okay, there we go. Dermalize Pro and Delize Pro in the US. Highly recommended. If you're still using cling wrap, it's time to step your game up. Dermalize and Delize, same thing, different name. It's designed to heal your tattoo while still allowing it to breathe, right? That's ultimately what we want. It's going to keep out all the germs, all the bacteria, all of those foreign contaminants after you put it on, it creates a semi-permeable barrier between all of those external factors and your fresh tattoo. Okay. It is literally designed to heal tattoos specifically. You cannot go wrong with it. And tattoonow.com, the leader in tattoo technology. It is the leading edge in SEO and professional development for tattooers of all levels. Doesn't matter where you are in your career, if you're first year, second year, doesn't matter if you've been tattooing for 15 years. If you're looking for a way to really step your game up, to really go through and learn what some of the legends in tattooing know, check out Tattoo Now. If you're trying to expand your online presence, or maybe your search engine optimization preferences, and where you rank in that, you need to get in touch with Tattoo Now. It is going to put you all the way up at the top of the list. You're going to be awesome. And last but not least, Tattoo Education and GuyAitchison.com, the leaders in tattoo education and tattoo learning, right? Guy also on his website has a plethora of DVDs. He's got all kinds of machines and paintings. He's got his biomech encyclopedia. That's all for sale on GuyAitchison.com and tattooeducation.com. Let's see. I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, that should be it. Awesome. So thanks everyone for tuning in. Let's see who we have here today. Remove that spotlight. We got Ricardo with us. What's up, Ricardo?
What's up, Jason? How you doing today, man?
I'm doing fine now that you're here.
All
Thank you for coming in and saving me, Ricardo.
No, man, it's always a pleasure to be here with you, dude. Sorry, Gabe, that I don't have my magic headphones on, man. Not settling for number 2 today.
It's immediately noticeable.
Yeah, I know.
Who would have thought a $3 pair of headphones would make that much of a difference?
You know what? And the best part is they weren't even $3. They came with the phone, so technically they were free, I guess. But man, I gotta find them. I misplaced them, and I'm looking for them. So I think I might just go buy another pair.
There you go.
They're basically the corded pods that come with the Apple phone, man. It's crazy.
Awesome.
Yeah, next time.
And we got Faith with us. Hey Faith, how's it going?
What up?
Can't really hear you.
That's better.
Somebody's getting some serious feedback kind of thing going on.
Yeah, I think that's you, Atomic. There we go.
Yeah, it's probably all the noise in the background at the shop or something.
It time to switch to headphones.
There you go.
Yeah.
I mean,
Cool.
We almost should require them, because otherwise, the audio does kind of get pretty wonky. But I guess if it's working, we don't need to fix it.
I think when I threw both of them in, they were just echoing back and forth to each other.
Yeah, I'll show you guys what I've been working on lately. I gave you guys a little sneak peek here. In the chat box for the Reinventing app, I just got a "What's up, guys?" from Joe Mack. What's up, Joe?
What's up, dude?
Should probably go through and pull up the since I'm beaming out to the Facebook channel too. Should probably pull that up, I guess. Cool. Don't forget to let us know where you guys are beaming in from. Depending on where you are in the world, and we always like to know, what kind of presence we're making, and if there's anyone that's tuning in from, another country or anything like that. We always like to know. Let's see. Joseph McFarland says, "What's up, guys?" Got a couple other people here from Indonesia. Hi from Costa Rica. How's it going? How's it going? LA QS. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Hello,
Cool.
everybody.
So let me switch my camera angle and I'll show you guys what I'm kind of working on. Don't know. Zoom out. Cool. So, I mean, the lighting's not the best, obviously, but really started to put some time into this guy.
Oh yeah. Okay. Edit. Oh, yeah. Okay. Nice. That looks great, man.
Yeah, I've
Are you
been
gonna
using I've been using some Liquitex paint markers for a lot of it. And I don't even know if you can still find these anymore. But these little Liquitex paint markers, I don't know how in focus this is, but this is what I started laying out most of the waves with and most of the background. I know it's probably
Very cool.
pretty dark, but
Read it.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
yeah, I got a couple of tones of teal. I tried to find more of these and I can't find them anywhere. But these things are a literal lifesaver.
That's killer.
Look online for a knockoff of.
Oh, there's plenty of like acrylic paint markers that are out there. I always like the Liquitex brand because you can just switch out the tips. So like if you start to wear a tip down by working on canvas or something and it starts to like shred because they're made out of felt. If it starts to shred, you can actually go through, take the tip out and put a brand new one in without having to like throw the whole thing out and get a brand new one.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I'm all about like, okay, well, if something happens to like the tip of this, can I replace it? Right. That's why like I love Copic markers, right? You can replace the tips and you can refill them. They're expensive when you first get them, but the refills are $1.50 each. The tips are, you get like 5 of them for $2. You know, they will last you a lifetime, you know, but you need to have something like this that you can refill. So yeah, I've been tooling around with this. I always like to go through first and work with some graphic markers and just kind of get an underlying base tone for like what I'm going to be doing and where. You know, I usually like to start out with like just a couple of little underlying tones.
What do you think the benefit for that is, Jason? Like when you approach it in that way, what do you see as far as like the benefit of the outcome? The benefit to the outcome?
Personally, I just like to do it because I find that it just kind of speeds up my process and allows me to really go through and just kind of play with like colors and color tones and where do I want to put things.
Okay.
And yes, in case anyone is wondering, I am using Copic marker on canvas, but that's only because I coated it with a very, very special coating.
What kind of coating was it? If you don't
So
mind me
it's
asking.
I've been playing around and experimenting with some Daniel Smith absorbent ground. And you can get 2 types on Amazon. That's where I got mine. You can get the transparent type or you can get the white. It's like a titanium white. And it works awesome. It's absolutely awesome. Like it, I like to work with aqueous media. My preferred painting surface is paper. Okay, just to give you guys some idea. That is like what I like to paint on. It's
Mhm.
absorbent and it allows me to go through and get the gradients that I need because I'm more of like a traditional watercolor artist, if you will. I
Okay.
guess you could say that. So I like to be able to have my medium absorb into the surface and then just I can play with my gradients in that kind of a fashion instead of going through and like mixing and adding layer on layer and layer and layer and layer and just building up so that it's thick. I
Mhm.
like working in very thin, transparent layers.
Okay.
That's just kind of like what I kind of like. Um, it's just, what I enjoy doing and the method in which I enjoy working.
Yeah.
Everyone's got their own preference and that's totally cool. Like I get it. We all have our own specific ways that we enjoy doing things. And, this is the first painting that I've done since like quarantine that I'm doing for me, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, there's no requests, there's no demands of what it is that visually needs to be displayed. It's just all
Exactly.
like it's all from your own mind, it's all from your own imagination, and it's just for your relaxation and your creative part of yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't get that very often. So when I do get the opportunity to actually sit down and draw and paint for me,
Hmm.
I usually like to do different types of like media studies. So like I'll go through and I'll play around with this absorbent ground or I'll play around with this type of acoustic medium or maybe I'll get into soft pastels and play around with those because I'm a firm believer that the more experience you have working with different types of medium,
Hmm.
the better of an artist you will become.
Yeah,
And part of the
absolutely.
reason behind that is because each medium works differently and you can take different things from each medium, to
As far
achieve
as
certain
them blending
effects.
together. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yep. I
If
agree with you
if
completely.
I'm going to paint a portrait, I'm not necessarily going to want to use like a graphic marker technique. I'm going to want to use a portrait oil technique, right?
Right.
Which means, but
Hmm.
if I don't know that technique, how can I apply that?
Right.
So that's my own 2 cents on it. Could be right, could be wrong, who knows? But
Well,
that's my shtick.
we've talked about that before, and I think that's one of the things that we both enjoyed and we both agreed on. I mean, we agreed on a lot of things, but that's one of the things that you and I talked about that we agree on for sure is you can take different mediums and they have different approaches that you have to have implemented in order to achieve the overall finished look. And it's okay to kind of be experimental with those other techniques and with an entirely different medium, right? On different canvases, on different paper, with different like dry on wet brushes and wet on dry brushes and such. You can create different blends and stuff like that too, man. I like that. I like doing that too. I like kind of taking that oil painting background into all my tattoos, all my drawings,
Hmm.
like with charcoals and stuff too. Um,
And
and
that's where you're
sometimes
comfortable, and that's awesome, dude.
yeah, well, that's the thing. Like, I was gonna say it's not like I intended on doing it at first either. It just kind of made sense, right? Like you just kind of went with it. Um, but the more you delve into it, the more you start kind of investigating that idea of other mediums, you start to realize that you can implement different techniques with it too. So that's pretty cool. What's everybody else working on today? Grace, what are you working on?
Dragon still.
The dragon,
Yeah. The
the elusive
River
dragon.
Dragon. Well, she wanted to see more of the shading and the design before I did it.
That makes sense.
So I'm trying to do. I don't know if you can see it.
See,
It's
I
too
I
annoying.
always hate it when clients do
Yeah,
that to me. They're like, yeah, but like,
yeah.
I
what's it
know.
gonna look like? And it's like, do you trust me? You've seen my work, right? So
That's what that's
what kind of stuff how it's gonna turn out, right?
I told
So
her,
then why do you need a fully rendered version?
I was like, it's kind of like doing the art twice. And I told her I wasn't going to sit there and do it for like 5 hours and then sit there and do it again. But she turned it into like a whole back piece. So I'm sort of complying just because it's going to be a lot more sessions than I thought. So if it ends up being 5 sessions instead of 2, I'm just doing it for her real quick. Feel me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh shit, these aren't the same.
Plus, I'm trying to learn forms, and I'm not as good as you guys.
Oh man, it's difficult at first, and it seems like you're doing it with. Are you trying to do it with line work? Like make the forms with line work shade, like sketches instead of shading?
Right now,
Yeah.
um,
Show me that picture
I'm
again.
kind
real
of just
quick.
messing around while I talk to you guys.
Gotcha. Okay, cool.
Just
Let's see
just
that.
trying to kind of plan around deciding if I want those like kind of divides of the neck, or if I want to take them out and have it be like I'm kind of playing with the overall structure as opposed to actually doing the forms. Where was that working? Like I'm just trying to figure out how a neck works, basically.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
dragging
There's a
neck.
lot of
Like trying to
there's a lot
decide
of
if I want like yeah.
right, like those little segments and stuff like that. So one of the things
Yeah,
that I
I'm
like
just
to
kind
do,
of
check it out. You just kind of find the folds and everything. It's a difficult thing to do, especially when it comes to form. You know what I mean? Like you're trying to find the forms in it. And I think what we're doing last time, you and I were talking on one of these conversations on the Zooms, was the way you shade it. You know, the solid area first. Let me see something here real quick.
mhm.
Let me just pull this up here. Turn my camera around real fast. So, turn it around. All right. I like to go in with like those flat brushes all the time, right? But I will literally just shade the whole area. Like let's say that you get that long rectangular kind of shape.
That's
For the
that's a
head.
flat brush.
Yeah, just that flat brush. In the painting, it's the squared brush. It's yeah, flat brush. Yeah.
Yeah, I got it.
And then I'll just kind of smudge them together.
Smudge them together with smudge
Yep, just that smudge tool.
brush.
Well, like and I'll
I
make it sure that
I
it's
never really use that
hooked.
thing.
Yeah, I've discovered this thing and it's been like a game changer for sure. Just for things like this and like little smooth blends, you can change the hardness of it too, like with the opacity level. And I always just use like I use a flat brush for basically everything except when it comes to like real tight edges and stuff like that. But then I'll go in with my eraser, right? And let's say that the light source is going to be coming from this direction. And I will just use my eraser and literally just start erasing some of those highlighted areas. And that's where I start getting that shape. And it's real rough. And you can see like those segments in the neck already, like the plates and stuff like that, kind of starting to form.
I was doing a wing.
Well, it's just an example.
No, but I want to follow along.
And then okay, so the wing. Let's do a wing real quick. Let's see.
Well, that's okay. I switched.
Yeah. Okay, switch back up. Okay, let's go back to the head.
Yeah, whichever.
So then I'll go back to the flat brush again. After I've erased some of it out, I'll just go back to my flat brush and minimize the size of it. Change the opacity down
What
just
do
a little bit.
yeah. You're just using like a dark in the middle
Yep,
and erasing.
pretty much.
Got it.
Sorry, I'm like drawing with one hand. I'm trying to hold this camera. I should have just shared my screen, but. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much of that you can see if it's still on the real small screen or not.
No, I can.
So you
I
can
can
see like
Yeah.
how it just starts to piece together real quick that way. It's literally, you literally create a silhouette of the shape of whatever that the animal or whatever it is you're creating, a hand,
Sure.
you know, a head, anything. You just create the silhouette of it. And like I was going to talk about that this week in the drawing class, is like some
Okay.
exercises that I was thinking about having everybody kind of use, involving like staring at an image for a little bit, trying to pay attention to the simple shadowed shapes, and then turn around, close your eyes, imagine it for a little while, and then start drawing those without turning your back to the image that you're looking at, like a tree or a car or a person. I think
Sure.
I'm gonna start implementing that this next week and go over it.
Have you
But-
ever tried the one where you stare at what you're trying to draw and don't look at the drawing at all? Just keep.
Yes, that one's
a lot
pretty
of
fun
fun.
too. It is, isn't it?
For sure.
It is a lot of fun. It's helping with that memory exercise and trying to pay attention to just the simple shapes of things and the silhouettes of everything, how it complements
Just
the
trust
lights
it.
and bounce.
That's what I should probably start doing more often, is working on memory exercises. I can't remember
Yeah.
shit. I don't know if I'm just getting old or like what,
All
but
that BYOB, huh?
I'm just saying, I'm not saying that there aren't external factors that are being added into it.
Same.
Yeah, man. It's I do the same thing whenever I'm looking at a door and I'm trying to explain to somebody, and like, grab that thing that, you know, it helps open the door. The what do you call that thing? The
The handle.
The handle, that's what it is. And they're like, what's wrong with you, dude? I was like, I don't know, man.
Whenever someone asks me what's wrong with me, I always say way more than you want to know about.
Right. Like, climb in here and find out.
It's like, how much time do you really have today?
Yeah, or why is there got to be something wrong with me? What if it's you that's got something wrong and I'm okay?
Yeah, what if I'm the normal one here?
Yeah,
That's crazy talk.
right?
I know it's not me.
Exactly.
I am perfectly normal in my own mind.
Yes.
Then again, I've got a very loose definition of what normal is.
Well, I know it's a place you can go to. You can drive to Illinois.
Yeah, I know some people live there, but they're weird.
Yeah. I love it, man. I love it.
I've never been
So,
there.
to Normal, Illinois. There you go. Yeah, exactly. There you go, Faith. Yep. Just don't even be afraid. Just block it all in. Smudge it in there, move it around. You stay real loose with it. And the best part is if you with Procreate, if you keep it on different layers, you can even experiment with like different light sources and stuff too. You know, and you maybe even merge them together. Like make duplicates and then merge them together, and then see what kind of effect you get whenever you do that too. You know.
How do I get like detail into there though?
Well, you'll start erasing it, and then you can erase it until the light source is true, as true as you want to make it, because it's always how we want to make the overall image, right? And then you'll go in and you start you can either I end up working on the same layers, but like I've learned a lot from Jason with like making a new layer. You can even go in with a different color if you want to kind of make it contrast against the tonal value that you have in the study, like a red or something like that, and start lining it all out, like, you know, trying to imagine your outline or the sharper edges, and then, you know, take the opacity or take the saturation out of it in that near layer with the red, and then make it dark, and then just merge them together.
Okay.
So yeah, try those methods. Just it's like, you know, whenever I first starting a tattoo, I had to have, man, I don't even know how many booklets of tracing pads I would have, and I would just burn through them all, because like you're just doing each new idea on a new layer so you can lay it on top of it. So I always think about that first Iron Man movie where he creates like the blueprint for the Iron Man suit, and you know, they're all individually, they look like scratch, and then you piece them together and it kind of comes together as that Iron Man suit. It's pretty neat. I think of it kind of like that. Yeah, just stay loose with it. Stay loose with it, and just keep playing with more and more ideas that you might come up with whenever you're looking at those real loose kind of renderings, you know. Super cool.
Loose isn't in my skill set.
What's that? Loose is your skill set? It's not. Yeah, this one will help. There you go. That's exactly it. Yep. And then do another layer, and you can even drop the opacity in that study on that layer, and then you can do a more you know, a more refined opaque layer over it to kind of find the edges and stuff like that too, or like I said, do it in a different color on a different layer. But yeah, I think I'm gonna draw now too. I'm in the mood to draw. I was doing some video editing. I think I'm gonna take a quick break and do some drawing.
But Ricardo, this is a drawing group, not a video editing group.
Oh man, it's creative either way, dude.
I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying, like,
you know what? It's pretty
if
wild,
this was
man.
just the creative group, Ricardo, we would just be creative, and it would be creative time. It wouldn't be. It wouldn't be called the drawing group.
Huh. You must have spoken to my like you know, junior high and elementary grade teachers, because they were always telling me to sit over there by myself and go ahead and just be creative by myself. You know what I mean?
But Ricardo, that's because you were the smelly kid.
I got to name myself and everything. I named myself Frankenstein. I love that movie, Big Daddy. It's a good one.
Oh, dude, it's classic, man.
Yeah, it's a really good one. Let's see. I think it's time for a beverage.
I mean, it is 5 o'clock somewhere.
That's what they say. It's all a state of mind, right?
True. 5 o'clock is a state of mind.
How's your guys' weather out there? Where y'all are at? Florida's probably really nice.
Oh, Florida's beautiful right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's warm though.
Then again, Florida's beautiful like 8 months out of the year.
Right.
Basically, yeah, everything but like dead ass summer. But then there's a thunderstorm every afternoon. Close down.
August in Tampa.
Yeah, I can't wait till I head down to Florida in December. It's gonna be a blast.
Where are you going?
My parents have a little condo down in Cocoa Beach, technically, but
Gotcha.
I head down there every now and then and visit with them. But while I'm down there, I always try to make like pilgrimages out to different like places. Like I've got friends that live in Tampa. I've got another friend that lives in West Palm. So
gosh, yeah, that's where I'm from, West Palm, but I'm like an hour north. St. Lucie. Like 6 months ago, I bought all the stuff to do linoleum block printing, and I've been staring at it for 6 months. Do you ever do that?
Linoleum?
Or just any, like, buy supplies and just look at them for like years?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I've had
Yes.
a 5-foot roll of, it's Arches, something like cast paper that's got like a texture on one side, but it's kind of smooth on the other side. I bought that like 4 or 5 years ago, and I think I've used maybe a foot of it.
That's exactly the way it goes for me too.
I bought it because I wanted to do value studies, like 5-layer linoleum block prints. But just the thought of it, just I can't get into it. I think I need like the perfect drawing or reference or something. I'm gonna carve that out. But
See, printmaking was always something that I really enjoyed when I was in school. And I found that it lended itself very, very well to tattooing, believe it or not, because any type of printmaking, it's all, printmaking is all process oriented, right? Just like tattooing. And there are people out there that'll debate me on that, and that's fine. And everyone's got their own perspective. But I see things
Define
that are
process.
more, it's very, very process oriented. Like you have to go through the certain steps in order to actually produce a work of art using that medium. You know, so I just found that that really, really lended itself to working with tattoos as a medium.
I was deep into value and 5 values specifically of light, and I figured that would be a way that I could mass produce some prints and do like limited runs. Instead of just doing one different colors, I was going to do color schemes and value studies and all that kind of stuff. But I just haven't got into it. Can I ask a random question?
Yeah.
What's the difference between neutralizing, muting, and desaturating?
Between neutralizing, muting, and saturating.
Like if I'm neutralizing a red, or if I'm desaturating a red or muting a red, what's the difference?
So if you're going through, if you're trying to neutralize a tone, you're trying to tone it down to allow another color to come forward. Perfect example. Look at Ricardo's hand thing that he just brought up, right? So when you look at that, you can tell how he neutralized, especially on the back portion by where the thumb is on the left-hand side. He neutralized that thumb area, right? So he neutralized that to allow some of those other tones to come forward and to kind of push that more into the background. Technically, you can use all 3 terms
so the same
in exchange, because they all technically mean the same thing as far as process goes. But, you know, I like to use different terms when it comes down to actual application. For example, like if I'm going to neutralize something, it's going to desaturate it by adding that complementary color to it. That's going to turn it into the technical gray. But if I'm going to start out with a desaturated color and maybe add even more black to it or more white to it, then that's going to desaturate that even further. It's not going to neutralize it, but it's going to adjust the saturation level of that pure paint.
So neutralizing is in reference to another color in order to make that color come through.
Right.
Got it.
Whereas saturation, well, I mean, if you think about it like this, right? There's two different types of saturation. You have skin saturation if you're talking about tattooing, and then you have actual color saturation, which is like how pure is that pigment? Is the pigment mixed with white? Is it mixed with black? Is it mixed with a complementary color? You know, is it a tint, a tone, a shade? Those are all factors when it comes down to, is this thing running out already? I thought this thing was brand new. Sorry. Those are all factors when it comes down to working with color, right? And if you're going to neutralize something, you're going to add that complementary color. So I consider that to be a little bit different. But if you're going to desaturate it, you're actually going to mix in something like a white or a black or a gray, like a neutral gray or something like that. That to me is going to desaturate it because you're adding something extra in that's going to turn it into a tint, a tone, or a shade. Does that make sense?
I do. I just, yeah, I don't really know how to use tones yet.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it all comes with time and experience, you know?
I just, yeah, no, I know. Like I can add black and white to stuff, but when I start to add gray to stuff, I get nervous because I don't know what's going to happen because I've never done it.
You start adding what? Gray?
Just grays. Yeah. Like I've mixed black and white into things since I started art, but I never really, like I've always seen like Payne's gray in the painting and like stuff like that. But I was just like, what the hell do I need gray for? But I'm starting to realize that I do need it.
Yeah, Payne's gray is a weird color.
Or just any gray, like battleship gray and tattooing, or
yeah, like a
warm.
neutral gray. There it is. I thought I had another one of those.
What does it do when you add gray? Does it desaturate it?
Yes.
And then it makes
it. It takes the saturation down a bit. That'll work. And sorry, I'm just grabbing one or two of these other paint markers.
It can help push it towards the background sometimes as well. Like you can obscure, you know, things from focal points. You can obscure things from the main subject matter and stuff like that too. You can also create like a lot of like, what's the right word, Jason? Like an ethereal kind of effect. Would that be the right way to say it?
Atmospheric,
Like
I believe, is
atmospheric, like a softer kind of feel to it, like where there's a lot of like ambience, and you can also help create like a lot of that ambient light too with grays and stuff like that, especially if you tint it with other colors too, which is right up your alley as far as tinting goes, right? So if you were to take those grays and add a little bit of like a medium to the paint, depending on what it is you're using, like acrylic, like so the medium could be water or it could be like a disbursement of some sort. And if you were to take the gray and put a little bit of like, let's say, light pink to it, and then you had a red light, you could create that ambient kind of effect where the light is hitting like, you know, water moisture in the air or something like that, or it can create a glisten on the other person's skin.
I think it all comes down to, and I'm pretty sure this is the point at which you're trying to make, Ricardo. It all comes down to the basic philosophy of if everything is bright, nothing is bright.
Right.
And if nothing is bright, then nothing is bright, right? Because if you have all of these bright colors in a painting, technically none of them are actually bright because they're all on the same chroma level.
Yeah.
You know? So by neutralizing and by desaturating and by toning down certain aspects of it, it's going to allow your primary emphasis color to come forward, right?
Right.
So if I have if I have one area of teal and I really want that area of like super warm, bright teal to come forward, I'm going to surround it with like burnt orange, brown, a lot of like not pure, very neutral tones, right? And maybe I'll mix in a little bit of black with the brown and really tone it down even more, you know, to allow that pure teal hue to come forward. Does that make sense?
That does make sense. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
you have to have
it allows you to really put more emphasis on like what color do you really want to stand out?
I feel like I need that for where I'm at right now, trying to balance values and intensity and everything. It's almost like I have to do light or dark, or like I need something new. Something new.
Yeah, definitely. Like a lot of the times what I started doing whenever I felt the same way, Faith, was I would paint a painting the way I normally would, especially with oils, you have to let it dry. With acrylics, it's pretty quick. But if you get a, what is that medium called that you can disperse the pigment with?
Liquin.
Yeah. If you get liquin for it, paint a painting the way you normally would, and then go, what is it, like 50% paint, 50% liquid, or 75-25 even, and just mix it up in a little cup, mix it up, and then go over your dry painting and just start choosing what you want to be the main subject matter, and go around the entire painting with a giant brush and just start literally laying that liquid and paint mix over the background, and then let it dry and look and see what it does. Just experiment that way. And like, I'm talking like just little paintings, like do a bunch of little paintings where you have one hand in the foreground, one hand in the background, or like a little teddy bear or whatever, man. I mean, anything you want. A remote, like put two remotes together, even just paint both the same levels of intensity, and then go in with that liquid and paint one in the background, just lay it over the whole remote and watch and see what happens. It'll literally push it into the background. And all you're doing is like what Jason was saying earlier, which is what I did with that thumb, which was just kind of, what did you call it, Jason? Dodge it, burn it?
I mean, those are all really good terms.
Yeah.
But you neutralized it.
Neutralized it, yeah.
Right? It allows it to be pushed further into the background to allow what you really want to stand out to come forward even more. Mm-hmm. And that's the whole concept of focus, right? How to apply certain types of focus to our paintings, to our drawings, to really start pushing the bounds of what we can do, right? It allows us to really say, this is in the foreground, this is in the background. You know, I want you to look at this and not this, if that makes any sense.
The artist that you said, Jason, you refer to him quite a bit. You said that we've been discovering lately that he was using his gesso as the
Peter Paul Rubens.
Okay, yeah. Would you mind pulling his stuff up again? Because I always enjoy that painting. Yes, because his stuff, this is exactly what we're talking about, Face, like as far as prioritizing your focal points in the subject matter, right? And like making the viewer see what it is that the artist wants you to pay attention to. And a lot of the times that boils down to simple composition, you know what I mean? And like a lot of times the composition will lend to this effect that this guy creates very well. He executes it super well. And I was really excited when Jason told me who this was, because I'd always seen his paintings as a kid growing up in art books and stuff, but I never could remember his name. And it's awesome. His stuff is amazing.
Yeah, he's a master oil painter.
Yeah.
From let's see. I'm actually pulling up. I don't know if you guys know about this is my last name. Know about the website, the Web Gallery of Art?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, your minds are about to be
the bomb.
blown.
The web, it's on the internet as titled as the web. What?
It's and I'll show you in just a second. It's let me just pull up.
Man, today's another awesome conversation, dude. Every Sunday. I so look forward to this, man. This is great.
Check this out too. I got one of these. Have you ever tried one of those? The pen
What is
tip.
it?
Called a pen tip.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I finally
I don't
cracked
have that.
one. Huh?
I never had that one. The one that I had is Jason that gave me this extra one. I think it came with it's pretty much this texture, right?
This is like a silicone tip that I guess Disney uses it. It's like a little, you can see it.
Yeah.
It's like rubber, so you put it on top and makes it feel more like a pencil.
Okay.
I think it was coming out of New Zealand. It was either that or there's like a screen protector you can get that makes it feel more like a piece of paper, but it's pretty cool.
That's what I have on mine.
Go.
Nice.
Okay.
And you've noticed a big difference?
Yeah, it's harder to like scroll and do stuff on the internet with it, but for drawing, I like it way better. It feels more like it makes resistance, so it feels more like a pencil on a piece of paper. It's cool.
Killer.
That's cool.
So Peter Paul Rubens was alive and did a lot of his paintings in the early 1600s.
Yeah.
He's a master oil painter, and he's got a lot of different stuff around the world, including some in the Philadelphia Museum of Art.
I think that's one of the first times I went to Philly. I had to wait for the hotel to let us check in, and I went to the art museum, and I think I saw a couple of his pieces there, man.
They're
amazing.
Huge. They're absolutely huge.
It's staggering, dude. When you walk up to those paintings, it's like, oh my God, it takes up almost an entire wall. And you're like, what am I doing with my life?
So what's centimeters to inches, right? So perfect example, he did a lot of like religious inspired stuff, but he also did a lot of mythical stuff.
That's the stuff that's my favorite.
Oh yeah, dude. He's got one of Prometheus. It's called Prometheus Bound. And it's one of my favorite paintings in the world.
Is it the eagle?
Yes.
Yeah.
So the story behind Prometheus is Prometheus stole fire from the Greek gods.
Mm-hmm.
Because he stole fire from the Greek gods, he was then punished by Zeus as a torment. And let's see, school. So this is the site Web Gallery of Art, by the way. www.wga.hu. You can search by artist name, title, text, timeline. So if you want to search in a specific period, what school they're from, what type it is. So if I do Peter Paul Rubens mythological, right? Here's everything he did that's mythological in nature.
Oh man, that's awesome.
Right. So you can really narrow it down if you're looking for specific things.
Yeah, dude.
I'm trying to find the one that's like the perfect example. Here it is. Prometheus Bound, Museum of Art, Philadelphia. It's centimeters to inches. Let's see, centimeters. That is 243. So it's 95 inches tall. And it's 82 inches wide. Just to put things in perspective.
8 feet by like 6 and something.
Yeah, 82 inches. 72 inches is 6 foot.
Yeah.
So it's just shy of 7 feet wide.
And then 8 feet, yeah, in length.
And almost 8 foot tall.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Just to give you an idea of scale.
That's almost as tall as, like, you know, from when you're standing underneath a basketball rim, dude. You know, it's 2 feet shy.
Literally 2 sheets of plywood.
Yeah, exactly. 4 by 8. Yeah, you got it. Yeah, man, it's incredible. Yeah, dude.
Oh yeah, phenomenal.
Man.
The thing
that's
I like
incredible.
about this website is it's pretty high res,
Yeah.
Yeah.
so you can really kind of zoom in. But this is what we were talking about, Faith, how if you look, he almost used like a Payne's gray to wash over a lot of this background,
Yeah.
which tones it way down, and that allows all of these tones to come forward,
I've,
right?
I've never really worked with Payne's gray. I've just always seen it.
Well, I mean, it
I
doesn't matter
got
if
you.
it's
I
Payne's
see what
gray,
you.
it doesn't matter if
Yeah.
it's an olive drab, or it
Yeah.
doesn't matter if it's, you know, like a burnt orange or a brown, right? None of that really
Right.
matters. The trick is wash it all out, obscure that detail. That's going to allow the detail in the foreground to move forward.
I got you.
Yeah, exactly. Get more intense color.
That's cool.
It's less obscured. And you can even see it in the shapes on his anatomy too, like where the
Yep.
bird or the vulture is hanging over his arm. There on the sides of both of his thighs. You know what I mean? It's like you see that Terminator edge that implements that ambient light that comes from the reflecting surface and everything like that, dude. It's incredible. And then the highlights on the top of the form, on his knees, on his chest, even
Look at
his
the
head
texture
has a
and the
little bit.
drapery.
Yeah, dude, the drapery is killer. Look how much like volume and mass that it appears to have.
You know, I
It's,
find it interesting
amazing.
though, because he used a lot of color temperature variation and color temperature shift
Yeah,
when he was painting this, because you have all of these are very, very warm. And if you
Warm as
actually
hell,
see
yeah.
this, if you actually see it more in person, it's got way more of a warm undertone, where you can tell he almost used like a golden yellow gesso for his canvas preparation. And that just gives it this warm glow, right?
Yeah,
See what you're
because
saying.
the paints that he used a lot of the paints that he used are a buildup of like thin, opaque kind of paints, like thinner paints, and they just kept
Yep.
building up. Yeah, the
Glazing.
application is just layer and layer and layer, glazing exactly. And then that's interesting too, Jason, because then that affects the color underneath, and then how it transfers through the absorption, like through that transparency.
Absolutely.
And it'll affect, because like, you know, the whole idea of like yellow and blue making green, you know what I mean? And the transparency, the opaqueness, the level of transparency that you allow to show through on the top layers and stuff, it's mind-boggling.
Yeah, let's look at this one. Here's another really good example. This is an image that we should all be pretty familiar with by now. Once again, painted by Peter Paul Rubens,
Yeah. Look at that.
the head of Medusa.
This is a great example, Jason. This is a really good example, even better than the last one, dude, because like the shapes of the roll kind of idea of a snake, right? That long tubular kind of shape. And then the way it curves and stuff like that, the way he made a lot of them over and under like a Celtic knot almost, you know what I mean? And like the way that those tonal values shift and change, like you're talking about, to help with that dimension. And then that face just jumps out at you, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. But if you notice, he didn't go overly crazy with the detail in all of the snakes.
Right.
You
exactly.
see their base form, you see a little bit of the detail in them. None of them are truly like blurry or obscured, or he doesn't really put too much focus on that, but just the lack of detail in them allows all of the detail in the head and the face itself to stand out even more.
Yeah. And then the areas on the snake that do have the high contrast detail, it's like it jumps out at you for sure because of that set effect. Yeah. Like that yellow one right at the fucking front, man. It's just like, yeah, dude, that's I don't think I've ever seen this one, man. I gotta be honest, this is incredible painting.
Yeah, so I'm gonna pause sharing for just a second.
What year was this made, if you don't mind me asking real quick?
And I'm going to do, well, I'm actually going to pull the website back up.
Okay.
Cool. So that was painted in 1617.
Oh my God.
I know, right?
That's-
And it's currently owned by a museum in Vienna. And it's one of his smaller paintings too. It's 69 centimeters by 118 centimeters.
I don't know the transference of centimeters that fast.
It's not
Well, then
that
you should
big.
probably look it up, Ricardo.
I'm going to right now. Let's see.
But this is why I love this website. You can literally go through and you can do a search. You can go by artist. If you wanted to take a look at what's in what specific museum, you can do that too.
How many centimeters was that? Again, one more time. I'm sorry.
69 centimeters.
That's 27. Yeah, 27 inches.
By 118.
Yeah, it's 46 inches.
So one of his smaller paintings.
Yeah. You know, as far as scale goes, when you see a painting the size of a wall in a house, it's incredible. It's awesome because the idea of it is that you can see it from even further away, right? And then when you get up closer, it's even more staggering as how simple these brush strokes that create these forms and these shapes in this lit surface. But when you think about it, that application, that same application in a smaller space, it's pretty incredible, you know, like that control with the smaller brush even. I don't know about you guys, but when I paint, man, when I paint with bigger brushes, it's way easier.
To me, it all kind of depends on the size of the surface I'm working with.
Mm-hmm.
But Faith, this is the perfect
I
example of what we were talking about before about toning down certain areas. If you look at the background here and all of these background shapes, the seashells, all of the background shapes, you can tell it's almost like he went through after everything was done and added a layer of like a black wash over top of it to tone it all down. Because you can see where he had some pure white highlights here and like over in these areas. But in order to keep those more subtle and subdued, he washed over top of it or did a glaze over top of it to tone it all down. That pushed it way further into the background and allowed all of these very bright areas to come forward.
Yep. Man, and technically speaking, depending on the medium, you can go in with a paper towel and wipe up, you know, any glaze that you lay over foreground elements as well, or like a cotton swab, or like even those little blending stumps can wipe it right off when it's still wet.
I don't know if you guys can really tell, but I kind of did the same thing with this piece that I'm working on. So I'll stop sharing. And you can kind of see some of these darker lines that I have over by the eyes. So what I ended up doing was going back through once I kind of like figured out my line drawing and had some of my darker areas blocked in using some Copic markers. I went back through and did another layer of that absorbent gesso over top of it to kind of tone that down so that it wasn't quite so obvious. So that when I do go through and I use my paint over top, it doesn't really matter what tone I use for the paint. It's going to end up covering that up anyway. You know, so it's going to allow me to keep some harder edges and really define my shapes and my forms so that I can follow it throughout my painting. But it's not going to be so, it's not going to have too high of a contrast so that I won't be able to get some of those much finer details in there. So that's awesome. My thoughts, and I'm sticking to it.
No, I like it, Jason. That's a good way to apply it.
And I don't really like to work in acrylics, but sometimes I do.
I can't do oil because I like to rest my hand on the canvas. So I have to get, I go crazy. I end up with paint all over me when I do oil.
They make you can make sticks like these little hand rest, arm rest kind of things that will kind of hover over the painting for that purpose.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I forget the technical name of those. I think they're called like maul sticks or
Maul sticks.
MAUHL or something like that. But
Dark
it's
maul
basically a
sticks.
bridge for your hand.
That's
Yeah.
dope. That sounds
Yeah, Darth Maul.
What's that?
sticks for
That's my
sure.
maul stick.
That's my Darth
Yeah.
Maul stick.
my friend's coming up tomorrow. I'm doing a assassin dagger with a skull handle, and on the T it looks like that. I don't know if you can see it.
Oh yeah, killer.
But yeah,
Sweet.
I've done all the tattoos on her, and everyone has a butterfly in it. So she put a butterfly handle. Thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that looks really cool. I like the contrast and the subject matter. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's gonna be like black and gray realism.
Nice.
That actually
How big?
reminds me a lot. I've been following a custom knife maker since my early days in college. He goes by the name Burn Knives, and he incorporates a sterling silver skull into every single one of the knives that he makes. Whether
Cool.
it's like a push button switchblade and the push button is a skull, or sometimes
Nice.
he'll have them as just like you had with the pommel of that dagger. He'll put like a skull at the pommel. So it just really reminded me of that.
Excuse me.
No.
Yeah, I'm
Sorry,
excited.
Paul.
I'm trying to my boss tattoos with only the shop that I work in. He uses like 21 and 23 bug pins for everything. Like I don't, but it just so I'm gonna try and do it with that. But I'm nervous. But it's more like Ricardo, where you're blocking out the big shapes. That's kind of what he does, I guess. So I'm gonna try and do that. We'll see.
Is it going to be black and gray?
Yeah, this is black and gray.
Yeah. The good way to do that is to go in with like a somewhat larger mag, depending on the overall size. You know what I mean? You can start out with, depending on the overall size, 11 to sometimes even I'll start with a 23 mag, you know, and then just start out with the medium wash, the medium tone wash, just below medium tone wash, and just shape it all in real loose and start refining it as you go.
So you do medium and then you in your.
Yeah, for sure.
We
It's an
usually do our
oversimplified explanation.
shadows. Yeah.
Well, with like really dark, do you start real dark at first?
Like I'll just basically work on the shadows first and do the blacks and come out of them, and then we go through with the mediums and we do the lights just at the end.
Yeah,
to kind of refine it.
Yeah, you could do that. You could do that. That's definitely
when I do color,
applying that. Yeah.
When I do color, I do mediums and then I put darks in. So I don't know.
Right.
What's right?
There is no right. That's the thing. It and like some of it is, that's where the confusion sets in a lot of times, is when you start getting, you know, bogged down by all these like techniques and processes, you know, and like with tattooing, it's a little bit more of an experience thing where you have to definitely apply that application of like I said, experience, you know, like that, knowing what's going to work for you. With painting and drawing, though, you can kind of take that and apply it to your tattooing technique after you've gained a little bit more experience, for sure. You know what I mean? Like, it just depends on how comfortable you are with it and how well you know the machine you're using.
Like
saturation.
I find that
wash.
If I do the mediums first, then it just doesn't take as long as if I sit there and try and put all the darks in, and then all the skin's broken already. So I think that's just so much faster. But this is why I do it with color. But I just started doing that. I switched like a month ago, and I still go back into that same habit of doing the darks first. like I get like an hour into the tattoo, I'm like, what the hell am I doing?
Mhm.
I need a sign on the wall or something.
Well, so let me ask you this: you work with a lot of colors. So when you're applying your colors, what's the difference between the value range of color and grayscale?
What do you mean? What's the difference?
I mean, Jason asked me this question a long time ago, and it's pretty interesting because I think I responded the exact same way. It's like, what do you mean? Well, I think what it was is that the only difference is that with color you can establish a cool and a warm value range, but if you desaturate it, you still have the form, you still have the simple shapes, you still have all those ranges of light to dark or dark to light, but all you do is transfer over the idea of it being from warm to cool, right? So there's no real difference.
I'm pretty sure that I was under the influence of alcohol at the time I might have said that.
No, I don't think. Maybe you
think
were.
I-
Yeah, I guess it might have been.
No, I'm joking with you, obviously, but
The way I think
But-
about color is, if you go to violet, I think it was like the dark point, like the darkest, and then
Mhm.
the highlighter yellow, like that lemon yellow, is the lightest, and it basically just goes both ways around the wheel, like a staircase, kind of going down. That's how I think about it in my head. Is it's almost like a circle that end on those 2 points, and
Yeah.
like yellows, blue and red are kind of like equals, and then when you put them together, you get violet, which is the most value or the darkest, and then yellow is lighter than them, and that whole yellow orange area is super light, so like it's
Mhm.
hard to get that dark, so I tend to put that in lighter areas. And I do that for drama, the yellows and the violets. But I've been thinking about a lot about sunsets. I'm trying to figure out, like, the sun is yellow and then they look orange. I'm trying to figure out how that works, like the light. You know what I mean? Like, how does purple and pink and red and everything get in there? I can't.
That's the
Is that
surface that it's in.
atmosphere
Yeah.
getting it?
It's the atmosphere for sure. Yeah, it's
that
definitely
what
the
it-
atmosphere. Yeah, it's definitely clouds
Why
or
no green?
water.
Why? I'm trying to figure out what's mixing into what, though. Like, is it the blue of the sky mixing?
What's that, Atomic?
No.
It's all chemical burn off, different chemical reacting.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good question, Faith. I mean, it could be something like what Atomic said. You know what I mean? There's a lot of different chemicals and stuff like that involved with it, but I don't know. I mean, you're right though. There's always purples, there's always lavenders and pinks and like these like really intense peach oranges and stuff like that.
It
So
goes
the
like
reason-
yellow, orange, and then suddenly it's pink and purple. It's like, what about red? What about all the other colors?
Well, the purple I
I don't
think
know.
comes
It's
from
probably something
wherever,
about
wherever the yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like the purples are coming from like that receding light and the curvature. I think it's like a curvature of what you don't see. Like there's a curvature of the earth, and you see the light coming from the background behind us, almost, right?
so a lot of it actually has to do with the different wavelengths of light and how far those wavelengths can reach.
Mm,
And how I perceive something.
And then how they
bend.
refract off of various types of particles in the atmosphere. That's why we
Right.
get the northern lights, right?
Right.
All that
Yeah.
is light reflecting off of different particles in the atmosphere
types of
under
gas.
certain conditions.
That's incredible. Yeah, man, I gotta go see that sometime before my
It's
time's
fucking
up.
What about-
mesmerizing, dude.
Freaking galaxies too. Galaxies, how it's like every color.
Those
You know
are
what I mean?
questionable.
It's almost like what? Huh?
Yeah,
Well,
those
what-
are questionable though, because a lot
So let
of the
me-
times those are kind of intensified by like an artist's rendering. You know what I mean?
Well,
A lot
no,
of the
like
times-
even the NASA
Direct
photos.
NASA photos, right, do have that.
Right.
So here's my
It's like,
question
I'm
for
trying
you,
to. It's
right?
like,
Yeah.
My question is this. If color is just a very specific wavelength of light, right?
Yeah.
Which we know it to be,
Right.
If it's just a very specific wavelength of light with a very specific type of energy or frequency behind it that allows it to move, our eyes capture that specific frequency of light as it reflects off of surfaces, which allows those surfaces to appear to be that specific kind of a color. Since we know that, why do we constantly seek color harmony in the stuff that we paint?
That's a good
Is
question.
there like a scientific equation for it?
No,
That's
no,
kind of
I
what
don't.
I'm trying to
It
that
probably pulls more down
for
to
everything.
how it deals with it.
I don't know. I'm also like thinking like way outside on like the edge of that limb where, you know, I don't know. It's just a thought that kind of popped into my head and I thought I'd share.
No,
Well, I've got
I
one coworker that loves warm colors, but any kind of cool colors at all, she does not want tattooed on her at all.
So I know a lot of it does end up coming down to personal preference.
Right.
yeah.
I get that. You know, I just think it's interesting that the way that we see color and light is it's just different frequencies.
Yeah, and that can be due to people's like actual field of view too, right? Like the way they're able to interpret the light and the way their eyes actually let the light come in.
Well, yes,
So that'll
obviously
change your
because-
perception and your reality of it entirely. Because I like the question you asked, Jason, because that's entirely true. Like, man, I think personally, it's the interpretation, right? Like, and as far as how you can convey the viewer to believe it as real, right? And a lot of times, like cartooning is super effective for it because they have broken it down to very simple shifts and values of color. And you can look at a cartoon and believe it to be a dimensional space, and even though it's really 2D and flat.
Yeah, that
Pop
makes
art.
total sense. My grandfather used to tell me it was like, you know, Tom and Jerry's so much better than Scooby-Doo because they could tell you everything simply in a visual story. There
Yeah,
no
exactly.
words to it at all, just
Yeah,
plain paper and color.
right. That's a really good question, Jason. Man, that's a good one, Jace. That's fucking.
I try sometimes.
That's I'm still thinking about that, man. That's awesome. I'm gonna be thinking about it. I think it's, yeah, dude. I keep going back to the viewer, the interpretation of the viewer for sure.
Yeah.
Huh. Man, that's crazy. Okay.
Hold on. Experiencing technical difficulties.
Yeah, you got some internet issues going on.
There
The
we
Matrix
go.
is after you.
That one's back and better. Yeah, the Matrix was messing me up.
Hmm.
We've said too much.
Yeah, no doubt. They're like, uh-oh, they're finding out it's not real at all. I
There we
don't know,
go.
man. Jason, you know, I mean, we've talked about this a lot, like that perception, you know what I mean? That interpretation of perceiving things the way that you see it. Who was it? Was it you and I were talking about? There was a dude that was running an experiment with his kid as far as telling her that the sky was gray, like blue was not blue, you know, like he had taught her that was gray. And when they asked her what color it was, everybody else in their class was saying the color was blue. And she's like, no, what do you mean? No, that's gray. You know, so what do you do if you're told that that color is actually not what it's supposed to be labeled as?
Well,
Do you think that would apply to this kind of question?
That's a societal label on what we perceive, right? And
Right.
that's what's become standardized, but that doesn't mean that it's necessarily what it is.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Right.
Red and blue and green are just concepts. right?
Yes, exactly.
They're
Right.
words that we associate with certain visual effects,
Yes.
right? Certain things that we perceive.
Hmm.
And that's what we are conditioned to believe since we're children.
Yeah.
Because of that, we grow up associating, oh, well, this is red. Anytime
Yes.
that we see something that's red, this is green. Anytime that we see something that's green, this is blue. Anytime we see something that's blue. But knowing that by definition, those are just words, we could look at the grass and say, this is fish, right?
Right. Yes. Yes.
And if we're brought up being told that this is fish,
Hmm.
you know, this color is called fish, then that's what we will always associate it to be. That's
Right.
not necessarily going to change the
What it
wavelength
is.
of light. It's not going
No.
to change how most people perceive it, but it is going to
It's,
change our association with that
That-
specific wavelength of light that we pick up.
Yeah. Okay.
there's
No,
a
you're right.
shape.
Yeah, you're right.
It was first brought to my attention when we were trying to teach my youngest son colors, and we realized that he had a hard time distinguishing between yellow and green. Like there were certain hues of green that he would perceive solely to be yellow, and it wasn't that he didn't understand. It was his perception of it is that different.
Yeah.
You know, they blend far too closely together for it.
So that's that blurry line then, Jason. That's
Oh,
that blurry
absolutely.
line where
There's,
we
Well, and it
take
gets-
where we take societal standard out of it. Because you're right, I was starting to go down that road, and you
Right.
start
But it
establishing
gets-
that parameter of science again, like actual fact, proven fact.
It gets even more complex than that, though, Ricardo, because there's a
Yeah.
very small percentage of females in the world that are actually born with what's known as the fourth cone.
Right.
Okay. So in our eyes, we have 3 cones that pick up and perceive wavelengths of light. Okay.
Huh.
And this is a known scientific fact. That is
Okay.
the standard. Right.
Huh.
And that is the standard that we have, right? We have set
Right.
this standard where the majority of humans, and I know my video is frozen, so I'm actually just going to stop that and switch over to this. So we as humans, right? It's a standardized thing. Like the average human is born with 3 different cones in the back of their eye, red, green,
Okay.
blue. And then we adjust that just like a TV would to show different tones and values, right?
Right.
All right.
There is a very, very small percentage of females born in the world, and it's only a trait found in females.
Yeah.
That is actually born with a 4th cone in their eye that will actually allow them to pick up and perceive millions of additional
Real
colors,
purple.
depending on their
Wow.
preference.
Wow.
But
That's
it will
crazy,
allow
man.
them to actually pick up on such subtle color variations and tones that most other people in the world will never be able to tell the difference between.
Well, then they kind of go hand in hand if that's the case, then, right? I mean, because that lends
Yeah.
to your overall perception of like color creating emotions and stuff like that too. Like you can look at a painting and there can be very intense colors that create and evoke like certain kind of emotions inside of you, you know, and it's intentionally
absolutely.
used for that purpose even. So you could have 2 people in the same room like you would in any other kind of theoretical world where like they're living in an entirely different world than you are. You know, they're depressed or they're anxious or they're totally
Ricardo,
cool or sedated or whatever.
most people are
Yeah.
living in a different world than I am.
Yeah.
Know this.
Yeah, I think that's the
Shakespeare
cool part of it. What's that, Faith?
Shakespeare quote about a rose from Romeo and
Yeah.
Juliet.
Uh-huh.
You know it?
No.
A rose by any
what's
other
the
name would smell as sweet.
Right.
That's the one.
Holy shit. Look at you guys.
And
Yours.
there's a book called The Doors of Perception that I read when I was like 18. But it's about like some guy experiments with LSD, and it talks about all the perception changes, and he just like stares at a rose for like an hour and writes this whole fucking monologue about that. which is cool.
Nice.
But there's one other thing.
Yeah, so
Oh,
biology can
have you
change the way
ever-
that we perceive things, and it can change the way that we interpret things as well.
The
Right.
glasses that a colorblind person can put on. Have you ever heard of those?
What is it?
I've heard of it.
It's
I
like a
don't
pair
know
of
much about
glasses
it.
that if somebody can't see a certain part of the color spectrum, it'll. Yeah, I don't either. But
Yeah,
but I
dude.
heard like this is probably hearsay that like the people like once they see it, like they can't handle it. Like 'cause they live their life without color and they're gone and go crazy.
Oh man, that's amazing, dude. That's amazing. That's like
You know what
that's
I'm
pretty wild. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
like my
You know,
brother.
it reminds. Go ahead.
My brother has a lazy eye a little bit and he can't see
Mhm.
3 dimensions. So he's seen in 2D his whole life. And he
Mhm.
legit said that he's an eye doctor. He said that there's a surgery he can have where he can start to 3 in CD or see in 3D. But he's scared that like he won't be able to drive or like freak out and like his whole world will change. But at the same time, he says he
Mhm.
gets pissed off because he can't go to 3D movies with his kids. So he doesn't know which way to go, risk insanity to watch Disney cartoons in 3D.
Well, that's where I would not be in the one with that condition. I'd be like, it's not really all it's cracked up to be, but you know, that's also because I haven't had an issue. But yeah, it reminds me that thing with being able to see different colors. You guys watch Rick and Morty?
Oh yeah.
Yep.
There's that scene where he
No.
like Morty talks about. You should check it out, Faith. It's great. It's a great cartoon. But Morty, his little sidekick, is talking about something being level, like the ground being totally level. He's like, that's not true level. And he makes this ground like super level. And he stands on it. He gets off. He's like, I can't live life anymore, man. What the hell have I been doing my entire life? This isn't okay. It's hilarious. Yeah. What a
Said,
great
there
Sunday.
were astronauts that they put on Mars time, which is like a 30-hour day instead of 24. And they were all starting to lose it because of the light, just like that 6 difference. Like we're so used to all these things and one little change and we just can't handle it. Like we have this worldview that our senses create. One minute change and we're like,
I talk about that a lot with a lot of my clients about that. Like, 12 noon, as far as what our phone says or what our clocks say, it isn't always 12 noon every day. You know what I mean? It's not the same exact time every day. And I agree. I think it affects us as a mass of people way more than what we give it credit for.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that also depends. Are you talking about 12 noon where you are?
Right.
Are you talking about 12 noon where I am? Are you talking about 12 noon in Morocco? 12 noon in Belgium? I mean, because that's all going to depend.
Yeah.
I heard up in Canada, there's like a dead period where there's like no light and you can't see color for like half the year. Is that true?
Yeah, it's like by Alaska.
It's not that there's no light. It's that there's very, very minimal light and it's only for a few hours a day.
Right. It'd be like that.
So
that Mars
think
thing.
about it like this, right? If you've watched the sunset or the sunrise, you know how the sun will come up and it'll just barely peek above the horizon. That's what it's like at noon.
Okay.
That's the sun at its highest point. No lie. I
Sounds
live there. I
depressing.
know this. Okay. That is it
like-
at its highest point.
It sounds like
And then
normal Illinois in
it's
the
like
winter.
a 4-hour period of time where it gets to that point and then it goes right back below the horizon. Right.
Yeah, dude, that's terrible.
It's the exact opposite in the summer.
Man. Yeah.
Okay.
So
So
how is it in the
imagine that's the lowest the sun will get all day.
Is that fine? Or does it mess with your head?
Oh, it messes
Like if
with
that's
a lot
all
of
you
people.
know, is it fine? That's just the way the sun works.
If that's how
what I
you've
think.
grown up, that's what you know, right?
Yeah, you're right. Exactly, Jason. That's
You know,
exactly it.
It's
what we're
because
talking
you're
about this whole time.
normalized to that. You have been conditioned to know that that's what that's like. Now, that's not to say that it's like someone flips a light switch and it's like all of a sudden it goes from light all day long to like hardly any light at all.
Right.
No, that's not the way. There is a huge transitional period in between those two extreme points.
Yeah.
Okay, so they get the full range of days for the majority of the year. It's just there's a couple of months that are extremes when it comes down to the amount of actual daylight that they get.
Does that affect the artwork?
Well, I think it affects a lot of people's moods,
Yeah.
I got you.
you know, but a lot of people during the winter times will supplement that with like a daylight lamp, right?
Yeah.
That puts
Yeah.
out vitamin D and specific wavelengths of light. In the summertime where the sun only gets to be so low, they'll draw blackout curtains when they want to go to sleep, so that
I
that
saw
way
maybe like
none of that
landscaping.
light comes in. You know, so there are ways that you can supplement that and adjust that. But it also depends. If you do most of your painting and drawing under fluorescent lights, then that's all that's really going to matter, right? And that's what you're used to. So it's not really going to matter what daylight's like outside. You know, if you do most of your painting under incandescent light, that's what you know, and that's what you'll be used to. And so that's going to have an impact on the way that you perceive those colors. If you're
Jason,
used to painting in daylight,
Mhm.
then that's where you start to notice that kind of an effect.
do you remember? I mean, I'm sure you remember, but that first
I want to see a painting of
see a painting of what?
the sunset with the sun just poking up. I guess it would just look the same as here, right?
Probably. You probably have to over exaggerate it somehow in order to get that. Like, this is what you're looking at. Like
Yeah,
dude,
I'm just trying to
even when you go to Colorado or somewhere where there's a lot of like mountainous terrain, when you see photos of it, it looks pretty majestic. But dude, when you're in it and you can see almost 180 degrees around you, because that next peak is so far away from you, it's incredible. It's an entirely different sensation being there than seeing it in the photo, right? So it'd kind of be like that, I think, with paintings and stuff too.
There's a little
sorry.
if you leave my house. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, Ricardo, you were going to ask a question.
Okay.
Yeah. What was I gonna ask?
Something about the first something.
Oh, yeah. So when we first went to hyperspace, the windows, they're floor to ceiling.
Yep.
And being inside of that space, where you almost need no lights at all to tattoo and stuff. Like it's such a different experience. You know what I mean? Versus tattooing under an hot light, even. Like hot light being that quote unquote true daylight kind of effect, right? But being in that space, the different kind of atmosphere that it creates, the different kind of like mood it invokes and everything like that too. And it's pretty incredible. So I was just going to relate to you what you were saying about lighting.
I was going to say, I think you hit on an important point there where you said the mood it creates, right?
Right.
Because
exactly.
if you remember, as I was getting tattooed when we were down in hyperspace, and I'm sure you noticed this as well, even though there are full daylight windows, right? Floor to ceiling, huge windows. He still has two out lights on.
Right.
So it's not like, and I mean, don't get me wrong. I know that there's a specific reason why he still has two out lights on. And that's more for triangulation, so that he can adjust and make sure that his needle depth is correct based on the amount of shadow, so that he can control, needle penetration depth and all that stuff.
Who is this?
Guy Aitchison.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. It's you're right, man. I could see that being an effective. That's like a supplemental tool, though. You know what I mean? What I was saying though is like that natural light was almost so real and like it bounced off the other walls and stuff like that, dude. It's like it's pretty lit up in there. But
Oh,
you're right though.
And it's something that I think we all need to get more of, in my opinion, is like actual natural daylight time.
Yes.
You know, the problem is that when you work in a field such as we do, and especially if you end up working in a studio like I do, where I can't remember, you know, outside of like the days that I have off over the past few days, I think I made it outside to like actually enjoy the sunlight one time in the past 4 days.
Thank God, that's
Okay.
yeah. That's a tragedy, man.
It stinks, but that's, you know, when we get busy, we're in the studio and that's what we do. And a lot of studios don't plan, and they're not custom built to allow the maximum amount of daylight.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of times you're working with, you know, a prefabricated space where you have to make it work. That's just what you have to do.
Well, shit, my studio has quite a bit of light from those 3 windows that come through it too.
Yeah, and if it wasn't for the guy that works in your studio, man, I would totally get a job there.
I don't know who that dude is. He just shows up sometimes. And
I don't know. He's weird though, man. He is weird.
Yeah. It's a cool spot, but you're right though. I get it.
Sometimes I feel like all I do is stare at little patches of skin right in front of me, which just like that's my life. Just skin.
Oh yeah.
And you get up and you're like, what the?
Yeah, there's what's going on around me? I don't get it.
So I actually started making it.
Yeah.
I started setting an alarm on my phone to actually make sure that I get up and walk around once every hour and a half to 2 hours.
Nice, dude.
And the reason why I started doing that is because I was talking to my optometrist, you know, my eye doctor, and I was like, you know, listen, I've noticed over the past couple of years, like, you know, there's been some changes in my eyesight, you know, and my prescription has been changing, you know, more so than it has been in the past 15 years. What can cause that? Right? Is that because of what I'm doing? And they said, well, when you're working and you're tattooing, how far away is the object that you're tattooing? And I said, my arms are only so long. Right. And I got these short little arms, man. So like maybe 18 inches away. And man. I said, and that's if I'm lucky. Right. And that's if like,
what?
You know, I say I'm tattooing a smelly foot, right? Like just walked in, she's been wearing Uggs all day, no socks. And like she kicks that Ugg off and it's just woof. Right. It's like a toxic plume cloud in your face. Right.
Like,
that's when I'm like holding that foot way over here and I'm tattooing like this. Right. Because I am not getting near that thing. I will pass out or throw up.
Oh man, you're killing me. You're killing me. It's hilarious.
It's bad enough. I just start watching her food.
Yeah.
I used to know a guy that used to keep one of those big cans of spray deodorant on hand just for when people would come in like that.
Oh man.
It's when you get a row of them.
Oh.
Yeah.
No more. Yeah, that's a hard pass for me right there. Hard pass. But it's like it's situations like that.
Yeah.
And I said, well, what can I do to help this situation? Right? What can I do to help counteract that? And she said, in all honesty, make sure you set some time to stretch your eyes. And I was like, what do you mean? Like pop them out of my sockets? Like,
yeah.
She said, no, make sure to set some time to focus on things that are further away during the course of your day. It's going to save your eyes in the long run. It might be a little bit more inconvenient for you day to day, and you might just want to get through the tattoo, especially if it's someone with smelly feet and you just want to do it and get it done. But if it's a situation where you have the opportunity to take a quick break and go and stretch your eyes, she said, make sure that you do, because if you don't, your eyes are going to continue to get worse.
Yeah.
And that hit me like a ton of bricks because I'd never thought about that. Right. That was something that never crossed my mind, was I have to stretch my eyes. And my eyes are already like getting kind of bad.
Damn your eyes.
I'm not at like monocle status yet, but maybe one day I will get a monocle just to have one.
Maybe
right?
you should get one just to have it. Let's just get one just to have it, dude.
Dude, I would totally rock a monocle, man.
Yeah,
I
dude.
would 100% rock a monocle.
Or just the little round ones that are like just the full on glasses. You just hold them up from time to time. Like, yes.
Yes. That line is crispy,
Yeah,
extra crispy,
extra crispy.
crispy. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I did good on that one.
Very
Thank
good,
you.
sir. Very good. Oh man, that's great.
I take a break when where they go back and forth really fast when I'm trying to focus. Does that ever happen to you? Like
Yeah.
they're tired.
Yeah.
Usually when that
It kinda-
happens, like, I need a break. Yeah. But
Are
that's
you drinking a lot of water, Dave?
am I? No.
Uh-huh.
Should I be?
Yeah,
Does
if
that
your
make you
eyes are
do that?
doing that, you should probably start. Oh yeah, that's one of the
It's usually
things. Yeah,
once a day. It's like
That-
one time.
there's a challenge that I've started doing where you wake up and you drink at least 8 ounces of water like first thing right away.
Like
have it next to your
pure
bed.
flavored water.
Exactly, dude. Yeah,
Because
exactly.
like I'll wake up first thing in the morning and drink some beer flavored water,
That's
I'm
good.
against
Especially-
water.
or like
Yeah.
tequila flavored water. That's my favorite.
Yeah.
But you're
Mm.
saying first thing? That's going to make for
First
a long
thing.
day.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
First thing. Yeah, just try to chug it. First
Drink a lot,
thing, and
a
just
lot of count
a lot of what?
green tea.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
yeah,
it's
green tea is
it's
good.
water. It has a lot of. It's not like soda or anything, but I drink a lot of that.
Yeah, that's better than soda for
Pretty,
sure.
The brain
Mm,
health.
yeah.
Does scotch
That's-
count?
Scotch.
I have it's actually green tea actually helps with the tattooing. I tell my clients to drink it because it has that enzyme thiamine in it, which is what creates the dopamine that's released when you're getting tattooing, and also calms anxiety, which prevents neoepinephrine, which makes it hurt more. So my ace in the hole, I always walk to every tattoo with a big ass Diet Arizona green tea. And if I get in trouble, I start chugging it, and then I get all loopy.
That'll
It's
do
weird.
it.
It's weird, but it works.
Try water. See what you think.
Yeah, you try green tea. Next time you're struggling on a tattoo, chug some green tea.
I'll
Leave it on
try
the
it.
floor.
Okay. It's like, what happened?
I
I'll
always
just go
find
out
that if
and-
I'm struggling on a tattoo, if I just do a couple of shots of tequila, I just really stop caring about how it turns out. And that usually works a treat. I don't know
But the
about you guys.
client
That's
has
my
to drink
secret.
The
'Cause the
client
la-
has to share
The
same
less I
amount
give a
as you.
shit, the less I really care. And apparently the better I do.
That's hilarious, dude.
You gotta, yeah. I don't know. You got too much information.
That's what we were talking about earlier.
I do.
I feel
So
that. I feel like I have too much information, and you know more than me.
Oh man.
Yeah, you get into information overload, but it's like, I always try to tell people like, listen, I am the best person to ever bring out to Quizzo nights because
Mhm.
my head is filled with
Dude.
absolutely useless information that I will never need to know ever again.
It's so true. I love hanging out with you, man, because like it's just nonstop. It's like, let's play some Jeopardy here. Where's Trebek? Where's
So-
Trebek at?
Funny story, actually. If anyone
you
in
ended
here
up
has
on the
ever seen
show.
I think it's Big Bang Theory.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So if anyone ever wonders
I've
like
heard of it.
how I got the nickname Sheldon or son of Sheldon, it's because my dad got the nickname Sheldon from my mom because my dad is like legit certifiable genius. Like I'm
That's
pretty
awesome.
sure He's never applied, but I'm pretty sure if he wanted to, he could be a member of Mensa. Like, he is a legit genius.
Dang.
And every single time my mom will try to crack a joke, my dad will turn around and just say, well, actually, and then like start spitting out scientific fact, just like Sheldon does on Big Bang Theory, right? So I got the nickname Son of Sheldon from my mom, just because I'll do the same thing with my friends. And I'll be like, well, that would be funny, but unfortunately it's historically inaccurate, and here's why. Right? And it's like, I should have just taken it as a joke.
Yeah. It's all good.
But it is what it is. But I'm very good at Quizzo nights. And a lot of it's just from reading, because I try to read as often as I can. And like, I read all types of different stuff, which, by the way, Ricardo, I've got a book for you that I'm going to give you when you're here in Philly.
Okay.
Well, I'm going to loan it to you from my own personal library, and it's going to blow your mind.
Okay. Yeah. I like where you're going, because I know it's kind of probably along the lines of what we've been talking about lately, right? I can't wait.
Actually, it's not.
Oh, really?
It's more about art, philosophy of art, and aesthetics.
Oh, very cool. I'm going to love it. That sounds awesome.
In fact, it was required reading when I was in college. Let me grab it real quick. I'll show you the cover. Ow.
The first time I went to Jason's house, I was like, "Yeah, I got that book. Hey, I got that book. Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one too. Holy shit."
Yeah, I like books.
Yeah, good.
Where
I
was
like books and I'm reading.
Yeah, I've got a nice little library going. Plato's Republic.
So I'm feeling kind of stuck, and like I'm not very happy with my clouds. Any advice?
How much tequila have you had to drink today?
I don't drink it all, and 0 tequila even if I did.
Good on you, man. So I think what you need is like a vignette kind of effect going on from outside on the corners towards the inside. Yeah, so you leave that, because the bird already has a lot of strong contrast at the belly, or not strong contrast, but it has more contrast against the background than it does. So that's what's happening, is that they're competing, like especially around the head. Maybe throw a little bit more shading on the head, the top part of the head of it. Like, or the under on the bottom part, like where the cheek is at, and the back of the neck and everything like that, and kind of round out that sphere kind of shape of the head, and then bring the shading from the outsides of the corners towards the bird, and go from there. So if it's all in pen, is it all pen and ink?
Oh, mostly.
Yeah, just go real light, man. Just start scratching it in there.
Yeah,
but keep
it's
the
not
shape.
a chunk of canvas, so it's a little textured, but
Yeah, I think that's what I would do. And then just remember to keep the shapes of the clouds, though. You don't want to lose the shapes of the clouds. You know what I mean? So, yeah, it looks cool.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure.
Found it. Okay.
Okay.
Aesthetics, a reader in the philosophy of the arts.
Perfect. I like it.
And it really is all about art philosophy, and it goes through and details different forms of art, right? So it's not just about visual arts like painting and drawing and stuff like that. It goes into architecture in the third dimension. It goes into music, dance, literature, performance, mass and popular art, contemporary sources of art. And it's got works in here from all different types of people.
Is this just one author, or is it reference from multiple sources?
So it's referenced from multiple sources. For example, it's got some excerpts from Plato, from Ion, on Tragedy by Aristotle, The Birth of Tragedy by Friedrich Nietzsche,
Oh, yes.
on Oedipus Rex and Hamlet by Sigmund Freud.
Nice.
I mean, it really dives into the philosophical aspect and side of art.
that's
It's even
really
got
nice.
Heidegger, Martin Heidegger, the origin of the work of art, right? The Paradox of Expression by Hagberg, Eaton. It's got Kendall L. Walton. I mean, Allegory of the Cave by Plato. I think I was talking to you about that one.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I'll actually take some photos of that, of those passages, or scan it, and I'll email those to you, because that is like mind blowing when you're looking at what is art, right?
Yeah, perfect. Yeah.
So
I'd like
there
to talk
are-
about that a lot. So that's
I know,
perfect.
dude, you're on a quest for knowledge.
Yeah, that's awesome.
You are.
Sounds like a great book.
You know, and it's not super thin. It's like 600 pages, but it's a
Okay.
pretty quick read.
Right on.
So, I mean, I think you'd really, really enjoy this.
Yeah, I can't wait, dude.
Um,
Thank you. When did you
It's
pick
by
it up? You said
Goldblatt and Brown, and this
Okay.
is the second edition.
Goldblatt and Brown.
And I think it's copyright. So I got this many years ago.
In college.
Yep, copyright 2005. I can send you the if you wanted to get like into it, I can send you the ISBN number, and you can probably get it from a place online.
Yeah, perfect, man. Thank you.
But it's enlightening, man. It really, really is, because it dives into like all different types of things. Like perfect example. So
Sorry.
I'm an artist, but I've decided that I want to create and recreate an original Monet painting.
Okay, I'm
Okay.
with you.
Using
Yeah.
period tools, using specific types of pigment that he used to paint his images on the same type of canvas that he painted on. And I am able to accurately reproduce a painting that he created. Okay. Yes, it is a secondary version of it. It's not an original, but does the artistic skill required to replicate it still count as fine art?
Good question.
I mean, I would imagine so, even though it'd be more like a study at that point, I would take it as, but
That's a good question. I don't know, man. There's something about the time and the person that did it and the societal, as far as it's more specifically the artistic standards that were leading the way at the time. You know what I mean? The styles that were at that time when Monet was painting, wasn't there still a lot of the classical kind of paintings being done? Like the whole point that Monet made such a big splash was the way that his renderings, right? Like his application
Ricardo,
of
you're
color.
thinking Monet was just an example.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm just
Okay.
all
You're
right,
thinking too specific about it. I'm asking if I'm
Okay.
able to accurately, using the same materials, the same process, and on the same surface as a master painter,
Mhm.
if I am able to reproduce that accurately, okay, accurately,
Mhm.
is that or is that not a form of fine art?
Yes. I don't know, man. Yes and no.
yeah, right.
So that
It's your
question was one of the
perception.
questions posed when I was in school and I was taking a class called the philosophy of art. The class was 15 weeks long, and every week we were posed very similar questions where, is this art? Is this not art? What makes art? How do we define what art is?
Well,
I would say that replication is an art form in
Yeah.
itself, right? Maybe.
It can be, but there are also people that would pose a counter argument and say art involves original concepts and ideas or execute or a similar concept and idea, but executed in an original way to portray an original thought, right? And if you're going through and replicating something, does that still count as art because it's not actually an original thought?
See, that's hard to say because you've got so many people that are so great at photorealism, and they're translating it to a tattoo, translating it to a painting, translating it to any other art form. So yes and no again.
yeah, it's based off perception.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a perceptive question. That's like there's no real answer. The only real answer is your argument.
So these are the types of questions that were posed to me while I was in college.
That's a good question.
And it really makes you sit back and really search out what your own personal definition of art and what that is, right? Because art is subjective. We all have our own definitions of what fine art is. We do. That's ingrained in who we are as people. There's no getting around it. We have our own opinions about certain things, and that's fine. No one's going to debate that, and no one should ever try to argue against that because our opinions are personal, right? They are our own personalized beliefs. And that's ultimately what we came up with in order to answer the question of what is art, which is the question that was posed to us on day one of the class. That was ultimately the answer that we came up with. We said, at the end of the course, we turned around and said, art is a subjective interpretation of a creation made by an artist.
It's interesting, man.
Which is a very, very broad definition, right?
Yeah, because I'm thinking about all the other things that could apply to.
Right. But I mean, think about it like this, right? There's an art to accounting.
Yes.
There's an
That's
art
exactly what I'm thinking.
to food preparation, culinary arts.
Oh,
yeah.
There's an art to everything. There's an art in the form of a weightlifter.
Yeah, entirely. That's exactly what I was thinking. There's an art to science. There's an art to math. There's an art to like writing.
To everything.
Yeah.
So that's where we came up. That's why we had to come up with such a broad definition, because there are forms of art in everything.
So it's a conflict of interpretation on each person then, right?
Exactly. Because there is the only standard definition is that it all is personally interpretive, right? It's all subjective.
Yeah.
Based on our own personal belief system.
Up to that point. Up to the point of that answer, because it can change that next minute. It can change the next day.
If you
get
as you gain more information,
of it.
Absolutely. Yeah. As you gain more information in life, it's going to change your perception on things.
Entirely, dude. Man, Jason, this is awesome.
Yeah.
And this is why I'm not usually allowed to do webcasts. That aren't like in some way, shape, or form controlled or directed, right? Because I get off on these tangents and like I start throwing out philosophical stuff that no one really cares about. They're like, this is a tattoo drawing group. Why are we talking about philosophy?
I like that it makes you think, and it gives you something for your brain to kind of break up what your hand's doing.
Exactly.
Yeah, totally.
That's why I love getting into stuff like this, because it really does change things. It really does make you turn around, and it gives you, it gives you something to allow your conscious mind to think about, while your subconscious mind is working on art.
They're both reflective of each other anyway, right? So yeah, that's incredible. Nice. I think my internet's bad.
No, I think mine's bad
Okay.
because my video is terrible today.
Oh, I had to hop off the Wi-Fi and go back to the cell data because it was just flipping me on and off.
Maybe there's
Maybe it's the Zoom server.
that, or like you just you made a shift in the paradigm here with that question.
Right.
I did. I'm altering the matrix as we speak.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Neo,
No,
if you
that's-
can hear me, knock it off.
Getting it out right.
Add a little extra zeros to all of our accounts while you're at it.
Yeah, that would be helpful.
That'd be nice, right? That's a good one, man. Yeah. I like
Yeah, so
it.
that this book, Aesthetics, A Reader in the Philosophy of the Arts, this is what we were given as one of our primary textbooks for that class, right? And we were specifically told, like, this is what we're going to be going based off of because it does cover a lot of different stuff, right? We got into different forms of art, right? Because art, once again, being a subjective interpretation of a creation created by an artist, right? Which is kind of like using something to define itself, which some people don't agree with, and that's fine. They don't have to. You know, this is just what we came up with at that point in time. And because of that, we kind of stuck to this because everyone does have a different definition. But that's what this book is designed to help us address, because it's going to provide us with different perspectives on what do we believe art is, right? Is tattooing art, even though what we're essentially doing is replicating images only on human bodies, right? Is that considered to be art?
Yes.
You know, which of course I believe everyone
Yes.
here would turn around and say yes, but
Yes, without a doubt, right? But then again, it's the same thing whenever, okay, it's the same thing because I've heard a lot of clients say the same thing about the reactions from their families sometimes is, you know, one, a budget, like the monetary value of tattoos for sure, right? But then it can be said the same thing about fine art, like something that you buy and you put on your wall. Somebody walks in to your house, they see a painting that you've spent thousands of dollars on, and they're like, why would you spend that kind of money on something that you put on your wall? Why would you spend that kind of money on something that you put on your skin that is like that what they would consider tactless? You know what I mean? And it all, again, it boils down to, well, you could ask them the same question: why did you spend $250 on a pair of shoes? You know, so
And see,
yeah,
I
I
wish
agree.
they could legally remove them and put them on the wall like Horiyoshi does after the suit's passed on.
Yeah, that would be awesome to do. I think we've talked about that on one of these Zoom chats one time with Gabe.
Yeah.
what?
Framing the skin. taking the
Oh, over
tattoos.
in the Medical Institute of Tokyo.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is awesome. That would be awesome to be able to do.
Oh yeah.
And then it's the same thing. Like I have skulls in my shop. You know what I mean? And I have some people that are like, that? Why? What? Wait, huh? Like, no. Yes, man. Like they think some people will think it's morbid. Some people are entirely fascinated by it.
Right.
I don't find it. I find it fascinating. But
Yeah.
yeah, or evil or whatever. Yeah, whatever connotation you have that is reflected because of the way that you perceive things up until that point, right? So, like what Jason's saying.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Well, guys, this has been
I have a
awesome.
friend
Yeah, I'm
Go ahead.
probably going to be closing it down in just a few minutes.
Go ahead, Faith. What were we gonna say?
I need to go dig a pond.
Nothing. I have a friend who she collects roadkill and then takes the skeletons and like puts them all. I don't know what that's called, but she has like a whole room.
Like a taxidermy almost.
Yeah,
That just
that's because she was scared of death when she was a kid, and
Nice.
like as a way to like face it, that's what she does. She makes, I guess, an art form too.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
What you think it is, like it's her way of getting over her fear. used to stare at it and, have a room full of it, I guess. She never let me in there, though. She doesn't think I can handle it.
Have you ever seen the one where it's like the squirrel riding the cobra?
Yeah.
That is such a funny little piece.
Yeah. What is the saying, that Latin saying, memento mori, right?
Correct.
Right.
There's like, yeah, memento mori.
Ricardo, you think that kind of helped out break that? Just continue this all around it?
Yep. Yeah. Just remember to leave like a negative kind of halo effect around the bird. Like you don't want to bring it too close. Yeah. And then pick a light source from where the light is emitting through the clouds almost even. So you want it to be lighter than the area around it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's yeah. Yeah. Just picture, like, I like to try to picture like a light bulb behind a couple of sheets. Like the closer it is to the two sheets, it'll be a little bit more intense. So you'll see less shading there. And the areas that are further back from it, like curved away from it, they're going to be darker because there's less light hitting it. So it's like a transparency kind of thing. Like, when I grew up, we didn't have a washer and dryer, so we had to, hang everything. And so I remember just sitting there and you'd see the light kind of shining through. And when it folded more, there was darker shapes. And
Right.
less. So yeah. But yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to be hopping off here, guys. I'm got a lunch date with my son today.
Likewise, guys. Let's go through and we'll start doing some sign-offs. Faith, you want to get started for us?
Sure. You can find me at www.wincolor.com. Win is spelled WYNN, color.com, and it's the same Instagram, WinColor. I have a free art education program that's just kind of starting going up there. But yeah, check it out.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Atomic, let's go.
What's up?
Spotlight.
My name's Aaron, or Atomic King Jackson 47 on Instagram. I work out of Ink Paradise. We're right outside Atlanta in Marietta, Georgia. Feel free to come check us out.
Awesome. And Ricardinho.
It's me, man. What's up, everybody? Ricardo Sertivant. I host a class on Tuesday mornings at 10 a.m. We're covering anatomy this month. I got some pretty fun stuff that I'll be implementing this coming Tuesday. If you guys get a chance, tune in. We'll go over it. I'm going to do my best to use a couple different camera angles to kind of show what it is that I'd like us to start practicing on to kind of help us out with this idea of light and shadow. But as always, Jason, it's always a pleasure to be here on every Sunday with you, man. The conversations are always great. They're just as great as they are in person as they are over on Zoom. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. Also, thank you, Guy Aitchison. Thank you, Gabe Ripley, Lauren, Sandy, all you guys for doing all this stuff behind the scenes and making it possible for all of us to be able to sit down for a couple of hours that seem like 10 minutes and have these incredible conversations. So thank you, everybody. Oh, and you can reach me on Instagram at Candor Tattoo and on the Reinventing the Tattoo app too. So almost forgot.
Thank you very much. I'll go through and spotlight myself. I don't know if OBS is going to be behaving or not. Doesn't look like it is. So we're going to switch this. OBS is great when it works, but when it doesn't, it's like.
That horrible noise in the beginning was me.
So thank you very much, everyone, for tuning in today. My name is Jason Leeser. You can find me on here every Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. I host the Reinventing the Tattoo drawing group on Sundays at 1. It's always a pleasure to have everyone in here. If you guys ever have any topics that you would like us to discuss, if you ever have any kind of feedback about anything, if you ever have any questions, comments, or concerns about anything, by all means, feel free to let me know. You can reach me directly at Philly Inc. on Instagram, or you can always email management@reinventingthetattoo.com. Once again, thank you very much for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed today's conversation. I'll most likely be seeing everyone again tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Eastern time for the Monday morning drawing group, where I will be working on hands, which is what we were working on earlier this week. So thank you very much, everyone, for tuning in. And now is the point in time where we raise our glasses and make funny faces and, you know, try not to do anything obscene that's going to upset anyone. Ricardo's getting started early. Oh, man. All right, guys, take care. Have a good one. And we'll catch up with